G'day guys, today we're going to be cooking some karkowka. It's a pork neck shoulder joint which we're going to get a steak from, and we're going to crumb it. We're going to put all different types of herbs and seasoning on it, and this is really going to bring the flavours out in it. It's an absolutely delicious dish. It comes from the beautiful land of Poland, this meat. So if you do come across any delicatessens, Polish ones, Mileczko, there's a lot of other ones, go in there, ask for karkowka. Let's get started. We have 4 potatoes here, and we want to take these skins off and we're going to create a delicious mash. So what we want to do, we want to mix some butter, some pepper and some salt, and we're looking for that delicious texture. It's going to be great. Next, we've got the pork steak, and you can see how delicious that looks. There's such a perfect cut. You can see all the whiteness going through it. It's all going to sizzle down into this tenderness. And especially when we put it with the rosemary, the garlic, the salt, and we're going to crumb it in that sage and onion stuffing. Then we've got the peas, and all of these are going to combine into that delicious dish. Next, we want to crush our sage and onion into fine to medium sizes. You can use the blade of a knife or a mortar and pestle. Then you want to cut up your garlic, ready to dress that steak. Now, the seasoning of the steak. Let's crack some of that salt onto it, and then after that we're going to put on the black pepper. Sprinkle that over it nice and evenly, and then we want to put on the rosemary. Sprinkle that round, and then what you want to do is get your fingers and just really want to push the rosemary into those fat linings. Sprinkle that garlic over the top, and when you push it into the linings, everything's going to conglomerate together into a delicious sizzle, and it's going to seep in nicely. Flip it over, and then we're going to do this again. Add your salt, add your pepper, just sprinkle it around there nicely. Push that rosemary into the fat lining, and then after that, put on your garlic. Next, spread out these breadcrumbs which we prepared earlier. Spread it out nice and even, and then you want to push down that steak into it. To the top, the bottom, and then get those thick edges. You want to do this whole thing nice and even. Now, the more even you get this, the better all the herbs and these crumbs are going to conglomerate and spufentify into a delicious texture and juice, and it seeps in, and the tenderness is just otherworldly. It's kind of like a golden star shining down brightly. Okay, it's time to cook the steak. Now we want to prep the pan with some extra virgin olive oil. This is to ensure the breadcrumbs don't burn. And then we're going to turn on the oven and preheat it to 180 degrees. Now wait till your pan's just started to smoke. That means it's hot enough, and then put in your steak. Now you can see I've used quite a bit of oil, and that is on purpose because we really want that oil to reach up the steak. And you do need a bit of oil when you sizzle this down. Okay, now when it's frying, you want to flip it roughly every 30 seconds. If you leave it longer than that, you're going to burn it. You're going to burn those crumbs, okay? So keep flipping it every 30 seconds. You probably want to do this two times on each side, and do those edges. And the whole idea of this is just to cook the outside, give it that nice crispness to it. Not looking to cook the inside yet. Now that we've cooked it, it's finished cooking. You've cooked it for roughly 2 minutes in total. You've just cooked the outside, and you've just got that nice crispness to it. Okay, now we want to put it into a oven safe sizzle bag. Okay, now I want to put both of them in there, put them right at the bottom, and then we're going to tie a knot at the top. Okay, now if you don't put holes in it, all this crispness is going to go a little bit soggy. Now that will happen a little bit, but that's okay because all the flavors are going to dance around together. But you do want to poke a couple holes on top, okay? So then put it into the oven roughly 20 minutes, depending how thick it is. Now it's time for the potatoes. So I've pre-peeled these, and then we're going to cut them up into around 1-inch cubes. Okay, then I've got my pot which I've preheated the water to, and then we're going to throw in those potato chunks. Okay, and these are going to cook for roughly about 15 minutes, and then we're going to do a nice mash. Now that your potatoes are cooked, I'm going to put them into a big bowl. Okay, now we're going to mash it. We're going to mash the devil out of it. Alright, now let's get that mashing on. Add a little bit of olive oil. This is going to give it a little bit of fluffiness to it. Add in the butter. Oh, look at that deliciousness. Just keep working, mending, and just pump that around. Use those muscles. Add in your pepper, your salt. Now, you can add some herbs, rosemary, thyme, but you really don't need to with this dish because the meat has so much flavour. Okay, we just want a butter and pepper mash for this one. Right, your peas are preheated. This pot is boiling. Throw in those peas, and that's only going to take a minute or two. Okay, those peas are done. Look at that, nice. It's that time again. It's time to put it all together. Now, I'm going to start with the side dish of mashed potato, okay? Just keep slapping it down and create whatever architectural shape you want. You can see I've gone for the Colosseum from Rome, Italy. It looks absolutely spectacular. Right, put in your peas, make it neat and tidy. By this time, 20 minutes has passed. It's time to take the meat out of the oven, okay? Let's take it out and let's open her up. Now you can see the juices, the deliciousness, everything is just tegrified into a delicious stickiness of a compound of a texture. You could also say this is just a tender juice of a steak. Look at that. Okay, we're going to do the taste test now. Now, you can see how tender this is. You can do the little test, give it a little poke, and I'm just going to pull this apart. Now, different people eat steak different ways. I like to put a little bit of meat and put a tiny bit of mash on top, just for these textures to dance around together a little bit. There you go. Just put a little bit on there. Here we go. Level 10. When a dish leaves you speechless, you know it's delicious. Just the deliciousness level is above a 9, above a 10. There's nothing quite like it. That's why you cook this long and you get a little bit of everything on there. The deliciousness is oozing out of it. Oh, it's just delicious. You could eat this all day. Final thoughts. So this dish, it's one of those special dishes that brings a smile to everyone's faces. Not quite expecting it. I mean, it's a pork steak, but it tastes completely different to the pork you would get in Britain or Australia and other countries. I believe this is the best one. It's so tender and juicy, and it has that extra flavour that the other ones just don't have. Especially when you cook it with this method. It really brings out the juices and the tenderness, and it is delicious. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will see you on the next one.